Good morning to all participants and judges. In this case, we were asked to consider Max, a student presidential candidate who sent out a very offensive and embarrassing Snapchat about his opponent Elizabeth to his 3 friends. Upon receiving this message, his friend Jonathan took a screenshot and shared it with the principal, Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis then made a decision to suspend Max for his poor judgment.
The Takana of Cherem Rabbeinu Gershon deals with the topic of prohibiting the reading of another person's mail. We decided that a Snapchat does fall under this Takana. The main issue is that Snapchat is a form of mail since it is passing information onto other people via the delivery system. While the Hilchos Ketanos and Aruch HaShulchan don't directly discuss Snapchat, we may apply the principles with a new technology. In addition, while some may contend that internet surveillance by national entities such as the NSA, CIA, or Homeland Security may nullify the privacy of Snapchat due to umdena, assumption, as mentioned by Rabbi David Golinkin, viewing by these organizations may only be done for the purpose of saving lives. Furthermore, under the user agreement and privacy policy with Snapchat, once they detect that all recipients have viewed a message, they automatically delete it from their servers. Snapchat states in their terms and conditions, delete is our default. As well, Snapchat's privacy policy warns that the receiver has the opportunity to view, screenshot, or review the message sent. However, we came to the conclusion that the Takana does not apply to this case. We came to this conclusion due to the fact that Snapchat was directly sent to Jonathan. The Aruch HaShulchan in Yerodea 334:21 states one should not read someone else's letter without his knowledge. His knowledge may refer to the knowledge of the receiver as much as to the sender. Therefore, because Jonathan is the receiver, he can do what he wants with his photo.
Lashon Hara Tochacha. Now the question is whether Jonathan violated the laws of Lashon Hara, since he witnessed Max doing something really wrong in the incident. This would certainly apply to our case, and Jonathan clearly had a responsibility to do something about it.
But did Jonathan deal with the situation correctly? We don't believe that Jonathan handled the situation in the ideal manner. We believe that Jonathan could have handled the situation much better by meeting with Max first and discussing the whole matter. Then if Max did it again, Jonathan should go to Dr. Davis. The Chovetz Chaim in chapter 10 states that the speaker should first address the transgressor privately and rebuke him gently at first. Therefore, Dr. Davis should be considered as a last resort. What other consequences would come from Jonathan telling? It's possible that Max would receive a suspension which would result in the embarrassment of everyone involved. It would become public due to the suspension that Max did something inappropriate, and people would eventually find out about the picture. This would lead to the embarrassment of Elizabeth, Jonathan, and Max due to the totality of the scandal.
What could have been other resolutions to the situation? Dr. Davis could have organized a private meeting with Max and his parents, coordinating an appropriate consequence for his inappropriate action. Or, Max could suggest his own consequences. He could apologize to Elizabeth in person and explain the situation to her, and he could also decide to stay off his technological devices for a while. Max could decide to go to the principal and ask Dr. Davis to decide his fate.
Everything's fine.
In conclusion, today we addressed 4 issues. We discussed the takana, which has to do with reading another person's mail.
Okay.
In the end, our decision was that the app
studio. I'll tell her to call you.
under the
Okay.
takana because it is a form of mail. Secondly,
Yeah, I am.
the takana doesn't apply to the specific case with Jonathan and Max
I will.
on the basis that Max intentionally sent
Yeah, thank God.
Jonathan
Everything's
a
fine.
snap. He
Okay.
also didn't
Got it.
explicitly ask Jonathan to keep the image a secret.
Your
Once
dad
sent
wants
to
you to call.
Jonathan, he would be able to do as he pleased with now his photo. Our third point was that although Jonathan spoke Lashon Hara, it was permissible because it was done to improve another person's behavior. He could, however, have dealt with the situation in a more discreet manner, perhaps by first confronting the speaker, Max. Lastly,
I think Matt
Dr. Davis
speaks
could
next.
have dealt
I
with
also
the situation
recorded his
differently as
first
well.
speech.
based on the idea that the suspension could very well lead to a considerable amount of punishments for himself. This case as a whole gives us insight on just how powerful the internet can be.
They're
The message we
prepared.
take out of this situation is to think carefully about what we send through media
It's the
and the
quality of their
consequences that may
argument
occur
that they're being
thereafter.
judged on, not just
Think
speaking
before you
words.
snap.
Did Matt read from something?
They all did. After they did like a cross-examination, they did very well. Now they get asked questions
Since you
and
raised
stuff.
the issue of Tochecha as well as Lashon Hara, can you just really briefly tell us what you understand to be the difference between Tochecha and Lashon Hara?
Tochecha is more of rebuking someone. So let's just say that
They should move the
I
microphone
tell
over.
Matt that he's a Palestinian, right? I'm gonna be pulling him away. It's considered as Lashon Hara, but it's different because it's permissible, as I said in the speech, that it's permissible in fact in order to improve one's being moved away. Lashon Hara is more like gossip, and it's like so Tochecha is more like you're doing it face to face. Gossip is more like you're hearing about it someone through stories now.
Is it possible? Is it actually possible to do Lashon Hara when you're speaking to the person in question, like where there's no third party? Like you're not saying something about him to her, you're saying something about him to him. Can that even be Lashon Hara?
Yeah.
Say that the
You can take
Cherem
from the
of
screen grab.
of Rabbeinu Gershom applies because it was intended to be private, and marshaled a very good list of reasons why it was intended to be private. But there's also the fact that a screenshot could be taken and was taken. Does the fact that it was intended to be private by the company and by the individual, but was not in fact private because a screenshot could be taken, how do you reconcile the fact of intent of privacy versus the fact that it was not private? Besides the NSA, it was not in fact private.
So the difference between intent and privacy is the fact that when Max saw that Jonathan took the screenshot, he immediately texted me. He only told him he was joking. He never actually said to keep it a secret. I'm told a joke, and I'm not told, oh, you can't tell it to anyone else. I feel free to tell it to anyone I want. Therefore, since Jonathan was never told to not share with anyone, he has the right to share it with whoever he wants.
See, Jonathan has the right, but Max clearly intended it for it to be private, and therefore the Cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom would apply. So then what would override that? Why would Jonathan then? Meaning, I think that exactly underscores the sort of tension between the intent of privacy and the conclusion based on that, and the really impressive marshaling of reasons why it was private. So then you would say the Cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom applies, but since it was a joke and it was not intended to be, and it could be, so then how do you reconcile that tension between on one side of the column the things that would say it's private, and the other side that says that it might not be private, if it's possible to reconcile it? I'm not sure.
Well, I believe the turning point in there would be if Max actually expressed and told him, "Do not tell anyone else that I'm sending this to you." But
point.
since he
Good
didn't
argument.
say that, I believe that we believe that Jonathan could tell anyone.
And it also has to do with trust. And when you send in
The signal goes out every once in a while.
And that looks good. He looks so like sure,
Mm-hmm.
confident.
Yeah, you
Which is
should
great.
see his speech. His speech was really good.
Did he read from the paper?
They all did.
Oh. Is that normal use?
Every participant, I've been watching all morning. They all giving prepared comments at the beginning. Yeah. It's not extremely
People
anymore.
asking questions don't seem so prepared.
They
and that was the
that guy's an expert, obviously.
Yeah,
the guy who
you
asked the
read it. I
question.
think his could apply to the recipient as well.
So let's push that further. Say that
This is like a panel of
Max
rabbis.
texted to Jonathan and to 3 other friends. Let's say
People
he
asking the
came out
questions are
via
rabbis.
via Snapchat to a few other friends as gay. And one of those
Teachers,
decided
something like
that he should put that up on Facebook to announce the sexual orientation of the person who sent it out. If he didn't explicitly say, and don't tell anybody, would that have been an appropriate thing for the recipient to do?
So, did you say that he didn't say don't tell anyone?
He texts to 3 friends, I think I'm gay, and one of them writes that onto his Facebook, this person's come out.
Well, it's not a final answer yet. So he says that I think I'm gay. So that until he actually comes to a conclusion and expresses.